Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming along. I'm very conscious that there's a difficult choice between popping here and the lure of a gin and tonic or a nice cold beverage. Otherwise, outside looks lovely. So thanks for coming along. Wanted to take the opportunity to talk to you a little bit today about Tees Central and some of our aspirations and ambitions we have for unlocking a significant development opportunity at the heart of the Tees Valley. I know there's a number of familiar faces in the room, some new faces, so it's coming on. We just sort of start with where is Stockton-on-Tees? We're one of 5 local authorities in the Tees Valley area. Population approaching 200,000, and as I say, situated at the heart of the Tees Valley. And if you stuck a pin in the middle of that little red area, or indeed in the Tees Valley area, you'd land somewhere around Tees Central, which is the area in question today. 125 hectare development opportunity spanning significant brownfield site, Teesdale Business Park, and development opportunities within and around Stockton Town Centre. And this is the focus for our ambitions, our aspirations for future development of the area. Before I talk a little bit about how we see these emerging and the conversation that we want to begin with folks in the room, take the opportunity to take a little look back on some things that we've achieved in the last year since we were last here. We're currently underway with our main redevelopment in the centre of Stockton waterfront, on the back of the acquisition of 2 shopping centres, relocation, 31 businesses, 16 months demolition, 16 months on site for construction on what will become Stockton waterfront. And I feel like I've stood in settings like this a number of times and talked about when it will be delivered. Well, we're into the last year on site now, and it's going to become a reality, and it's going to form the basis and the platform for some of the future development and investment opportunities that we see.
Sorry, just might just lift the mic further into this, hard to hear at the back. Put it in the middle here.
I normally have that problem on these ones, but can someone help me? I can't quite pull it on.
Put it on there.
Yeah. Right.
I need a ladder to do this.
There we go, sorry.
Reminds me of our wedding day, this. What was it? Is that better? Yeah. Sorry about that. Where was I? Yeah, we're into the final year on site, so really proud to see this really ambitious scheme come to fruition, and it will form the basis around some of the development opportunities that we'll go on to talk about. In the same time, we completed on site the first piece of the jigsaw of our Cairn Health Zone aspirations, and that was the completion and opening of England's biggest new build diagnostic centre, delivered in partnership with the NHS. Incredibly proud of the work that we did to get that on site and to get it complete. Opened its doors, undertaking its first diagnostic services in early March of this year, so really proud to see that come to fruition. At the same time, we've been undertaking a significant body of work around a blueprint for Tees Central, for Central Stockton, that forms the basis of our redevelopment and investment aspirations in the borough, and it starts to set the framework for and the context for some of today's conversation. And you can see there it's really focused around the opportunity that we see presenting itself in Teesdale Business Park, focused around Cairn Health sector, brownfield regeneration in Tees Marsh and Yards, and some of the discrete development plots and opportunities that exist in and around the town centre linked to that. The first of those is an opportunity on Stockton waterfront, site immediately adjacent to the waterfront park, 3-acre development site that we see some fantastic potential for new residential product on that site, a product that the gap exists for, that we believe in the market currently. And part of the conversation we want to begin today is how to unlock some of that site and really capitalise on that riverside and that waterfront park setting and some of the value created through the investment in the waterfront park. A similar vein at the northern end of the town centre, we have a significant footprint in public ownership, where we have aspiration for repurposing of that space for new residential product, redevelopment of that site. We already own Hampton by Hilton Hotel in that part of town, opportunities for expansion of temporary accommodation in that part of the town, and some of the different routes to market for some of those conversations, but a significant waterside footprint that we're looking to unlock at the northern end of the Tees Central area. Alongside that, in our care and health zone on the Teesdale side of the river, we've signed a memorandum of understanding with Teesside University to bring forward a medical school. We're working now on the front end of the feasibility of the technical side of that scheme. And again, we see some longer term opportunities for not just the delivery of the medical school, but associated clinical facilities and student accommodation on the back of the medical school investment. And again, a significant development footprint that we have control of in that part of the area. Within the care and health zone and the Teesdale Business Park area, we have some underused education space, and we have ambitions there to repurpose some of that education space for spin-off innovation linked to care and health sector, the development of the diagnostic centre and the medical school, and we, again, front end of that journey around starting to understand what that starts to look like, and again, a conversation around the development opportunities, the development partnership to bring forward a space of that type. Underpinning all that, we want to build on the commitment from the Combined Authority to invest into upgrading the transport infrastructure in and around the Tees Central area, and a critical element of that will be the creation of a new transport hub, transport infrastructure linked to the existing strong links east-west predominantly that you see at Thornby Station, and capitalising on the live rail lines that run through the centre of the site. So significant commitment there to take forward transport infrastructure and transport investment. And the final element, and slightly longer term, but the key component of the site really is the existing Tees Marshing Yard site, a cross-boundary site that straddles both Stockton and Middlesbrough, I'd say at the heart of the Tees Valley. The significant potential to deliver several thousand residential units on that site, alongside some of the commercial and clinical footprint that will support our care and health aspirations. We have a governance structure in place alongside Combined Authority and other relevant stakeholders, and we're really looking to move forward this year with some of the technical aspects of the work that will start to unpick some of the constraints of the site and some of the development expertise in this room and further afield that we want to tap into around some of that conversation. So I'll conclude with a bit of a video that brings all that together, and then I'll hand over to Mike and the panel for
Thank you. Can everybody still hear me at the back? Great. So thank you for listening, everybody. As you can see, there are some really great opportunities. We're really excited about some of the development sites that are coming forward, and it's very clear from our perspective that in order to meet the potential, whether that be from the physical development to the inclusive growth elements of it, we need to work cross-partnership, the public sector working with government bodies, but also with the commercial sector to unlock some of these sites and start moving the development forward. And as part of that, we are going to be starting from today a wide range of conversations with the market. Why that's doing that with the market and with partners and stakeholders to start to bring forward some of these sites in the short to medium term. Today I'm joined by a panel that represents a number of those stakeholders, and we thought that we'd use it to have a discussion about developing such sites in terms of the regeneration and the holistic regeneration that needs to take place right the way across the country and how the Tees Valley can be at the heart of that. So we're joined by, from this side, Tracy Carter, who is Stockton-on-Tees Borough Council's Director of Regeneration and Inclusive Growth. Maria Cadell, who we're pleased to join us from Homes England, who are going to be a key partner nationally in terms of unlocking some of the potential around good quality homes. Lindsay Robinson joins us from one of our brilliant anchor institutions within the Tees Valley, which is Teesside University. And we're joined by Sandy Smith from Baclue Property, representing a perspective from the commercial sector, who will need to be a range of key development partners going forward. So we're going to do a bit of a panel session, then I'm happy to open it up to questions in terms of this site or the wider strategy. But if I could maybe start with you, Sandy, from a developer point of view. There are a number of people in the room from mixed backgrounds, mixed organisations, some representing public bodies, local authorities, combined authorities, but the commercial sector. I suppose from my perspective, we've got a wide range of sites in there, some of which are a big brownfield site, some of which are which could be quite complicated, some of which are existing sites or easier to develop sites. From a developer point of view, what things are you looking for from the public sector to start with in terms of unlocking some of these sites and moving them forward?
Okay, so hopefully this is working.
Yes.
Well, firstly, I'd better just say that as UK investors and developers, we are not currently investing into Stockton, but what we are doing with our joint venture partners at IMPEC is we are investing heavily into the Tees Valley, currently focusing on Gresham in Middlesbrough. But the opportunity is very real in Tees Valley. We as one of my colleagues said earlier, as developers, we do have the ability to look anywhere. But actually, when you look at the building blocks that are being put in place by the Mayor, the team at TVCA and the local authorities and the chief execs, there's a very real opportunity. What we want, Mike, to answer the question directly, is you need clear leadership, you need clear strategy, and you need more than just rhetoric. You need to see that the local authorities involved are actually going to deliver on what they said, and that that's going to disseminate down from the top right down to the people who are actually on the ground interfacing with our teams. I've already been to a few other sessions today where I've heard other local authorities, I certainly won't name any, where they say all the right things at the top, but I know from experience where we're trying to develop with some of those towns and cities at the moment, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room who are involved in development, whether they're consultants, developers, or whatever, they will see the sort of challenges that we're faced with daily. And let's not make the whole session about planning, but you know, there are stumbling blocks. So a local authority that has clear leadership, clear strategy, and shows commitment in terms of their vision. And I think everyone's just seen there, we probably struggled to see it, but the ambition here at Stockton is incredible. And for that to happen and be delivered, you need to make sure that as a team, you're giving investors like ourselves sort of vision, leadership, commitment, and also help. Because everyone's got an agenda. We need to make sure we're all aligned.
That's really helpful. And I think from a combined authority, local authority point of view, the Mayor mentioned in his previous session, and the kind of part of this session is about ensuring, you know, there's different elements to that, isn't there, Sandy? There's something from the public sector point of view, infrastructure funding, so us doing some of the things that only we can do.
Yep.
So we know that we've secured £150 million worth of the transport funding that was mentioned earlier to unlock some of these key sites, which only we can do as public bodies. But there's something also about making sure that we have the capacity in our own organisations, whether that be through planning or whether that be through project management and working with commercial partners to deliver that. Tracy, I'm going to ask you a question around that in terms of whether you could talk about some of the things that we're doing to help that scenario in terms of the resource and capacity we're putting in and how we're working with the combined authority.
Sure. So we are building resources within the team to reflect the scale of the ambition you just saw behind us. That's not easily delivered by any stretch of the imagination, but we've got to be really clear. This is going to be a cocktail of different delivery partners that are going to move this forward. The local authority on its own cannot deliver it. The landowners on their own cannot deliver it. So we've got to understand the roles and responsibilities of each of the partners within that, and build a strong, very, very kind of personally centred partnership. My bass end's going a bit there. That is actually going to be able to take this forward. So I invited Marie to join us on this panel today because we had extensive experience of working on a scheme very like this in York, which is a railway land driven regeneration scheme where you can regenerate a significant scale of development. The private sector will need to seize opportunities coming forwards in ways that it can respond to. And what I've done over the last 7 or 8 months since I joined Stockton was to be able to pull all of the opportunities and to be able to pull those together in a way where the infrastructure elements can be addressed. We can get the planning policy side of it centred. Really, really importantly, we can establish those partnerships where the core bodies can work together to overcome some of those hurdles that Sandy referred to. And in doing so, we all need to be incredibly clear about what we bring to the table in terms of our opportunity and our potential, but also what we individually bring to the table in terms of our baggage, and to understand that and how to get round some of those difficulties that particularly public bodies will always come with, but that's not something that is unique to public sector. The private sector partners will have certain drivers that mean that they need certain things within a timescale, and the trick is to make all those line up so that you've got a partnership team that can do all the things it needs to do, wearing the right hat at the right time, but that your package of objectives that you are hoping to deliver through the vision can deliver to the objectives of each and every partner sitting around that table.
That's really helpful. I think from my point of view, just to add to Tracy's point as well, there's a very clear political backing, cross-party political backing for something which was we have a Conservative mayor for the region, we've got a Labour leadership within the council that are working hand in hand to deliver their priorities around this, and that was articulated earlier as well. And we've put the resource into the authority to do that. I think from our perspective, or from my perspective, planning in the region is good. You know, with the relationships we've got with some of you in the room already, and schemes that we've had moving, we've got good planning authority. We move at pace, and historically the region is used to development over hundreds of years actually. So some of the controversial aspects of planning don't exist in the same way in the region that might exist in some of the other parts of the country. But the big thing for us also is around, we need to develop different markets, different housing markets in particular. So there's some really massive opportunities right the way around the region for employment opportunities. But we need to be looking at taking a risk in some areas, working with the sector to develop different types of tenure, different types of properties, a range of things from right the way from the kind of extra care type end to the young professionals that are going into businesses like Fujifilm, which is one of our big businesses in the area. 1,500 people work there, 70% of which have got PhDs. We've just invested £500 million in the site. We need to provide accommodation so that we're keeping them people in the Tees Valley region to live there. So on that point, I wanted to bring Marie in to talk a little bit about Homes England, and we've got huge ambitions nationally around growing the base, our housing base, and kind of the model we've delivered so far is just not delivered enough, and we need to go further, and we've done some creative stuff. So I wonder to take your view into how Homes England can work with us to develop some of this ambition.
So, I mean, at Homes England, we've got the resource, the capacity and the expertise to help places like Stockton Borough Council develop the strategy. We know what's worked elsewhere, what hasn't worked elsewhere. We've got a multitude of different disciplines internally, engineers, housing professionals, technical, etc. But also we've got the funding as well. You know, we can't not talk about money here. So we have quite a wide-ranging funding package that it's available. So from loans to equity, affordable housing programme, as well as in some instances, like Tracy mentioned, Yacht Central, where we actually got directly involved to unlock that site by taking a land ownership in that site so that we were directly in control. So we have got, I like to call it a menu of different opportunities within there. But I think the key thing is we've got experience across the country of working in partnership, what works well, what doesn't work. But we're not here to set the agenda. We're very much in the hands of the local authorities and combined authorities who know the place better than we do. You know, we will work with any combined authority, any local authority, but so long as it's on a partnership basis. We're not here to try and solve the problems or set the agenda. It really is for places like Stockton to do that for us.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And Tracy, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit linked to that about clearly one of the key sites that Ian introduced was Tees Central, which is a huge, ambitious programme of activities. It's going to be one of the biggest brownfield sites in the north, or is one of the biggest brownfield sites in the north, even though it's got active rail use at the minute. And we've got lots of ambitions around that. I wonder whether you could talk to people in the room about some of the governance we're going to put around that, because you know, the local authority is one stakeholder, but there's Network Rail, DB Cargo, the Combined Authority, Homes England. I don't know if you could talk a little bit about the commitment we've got to move forward with that site in order to make it move.
Yeah, so as you just suggested there, the land ownership on that site is not in one within one body at the moment, and having had experience at that already in the York area, that will slow things down. So rationalising land ownership, getting the landowners around the table early doors, understanding the transport infrastructure issues that need to be overcome, and getting the decision makers that can actually impact upon that around the table from the very, very beginning will shortcut that process. I think that whichever way we look at it, something like a kind of rail unlocking like that will take a number of years. There are some elements of it that are very difficult to shortcut. So what we're trying to do in the broader vision of it is to have some opportunities that will be coming to market more quickly, that will actually create that momentum and pull the eye towards the Tees Valley. I'm just sitting here looking at the Tees Valley, a region that's surprising, inventive and unstoppable all at once. I'm new to the Tees Valley, and what really excites me is about the scale of the opportunity that sits there and the willingness of all partners to really get involved to deliver that. There's some great businesses and a population that is more than ready for this to happen. So in terms of unlocking potential, you've already got a lot of the building blocks that are already there, and the sense that this could do not just a regeneration of the area that we're talking about, the land on which it is built, but how that will impact on the urban core of the Tees Valley, I don't think can be underestimated. This site will link Middlesbrough to Stockton. It will be the kind of central new business area for the whole of the Tees Valley, and I think every partner that's touching on this now is really, really passionate to get engaged, but to get moving quickly. This isn't about a bright vision that's for tomorrow. This has got to be about opportunities that land this year, next year, the year after that, as well as delivering on that 10 to 15 year vision for brownfield regeneration that we also want to deliver.
And we'll touch upon that in a short while as well, in terms of what we're going to be, the very specifics we're going to be asking. And, you know, part of this is understanding the vision's really important, the work that we've done around working in partnership to understand the different sites, but actually it's that ongoing dialogue with various different sectors, so that we are, you know, the worst place in the world that we could be is to go so far down the line where we think we can have kind of palm trees and, you know, Dubai-style development taking place. But actually, we need to work with the commercial sector to understand where the viability is, what some of the challenges are, how we can develop that. So today really is the start of that very practical conversation around some of these sites that we want to work with colleagues, stakeholders on to deliver. You mentioned, Tracy, and I'm going to come to Lindsay from the university. One of the things, and you know, to declare an interest, I'm not born and raised in Teesside. I'm originally from Greater Manchester. I'm kind of a blow into the region, and it is a fantastic region. You know, with the history, the mayor in his previous session talked about the fact that, you know, parts of entrepreneurialism in Teesside has built the world. It is very true. You see it at the beating heart of the people, and the sites we're talking about is right in the beating heart of Teesside. You know, it's right in the central location. It's very well connected in terms of the road network, and it's part and connected to some of those major industrial sites that are driving the UK economy. You know, businesses such as Wilton Engineering that are, you know, have got huge infrastructure projects for the Ministry of Defence, or Fujifilm mentioned, and you know, a range of other industries around net zero. So I suppose from my perspective, we've got a number of really good anchor institutions as well, so that we've got a great set of skills organisations that contribute to a skilled workforce, but also from research and development. And Lindsay, I wonder whether you could talk a little bit about the partnership with Teesside University, particularly with the focus on some of the work you're doing around digital and business incubation, and also health, some of the medical school provision that we're looking at.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, Teesside Uni is an anchor institution very much at the heart of Tees Valley. Our mission is at the heart of everything we do, is our mission around transforming lives and economies. And just to sort of bring that to life a little bit, if you don't mind, a couple of statistics. So our top 10 feeder schools are all from a 15-mile radius around Middlesbrough, which is where our campus heart is. So our students are very much from Tees Valley, and then we find that around 54-56% of our graduates stay and live and work in Tees Valley. So at the heart of everything we do is this drive to transform the economy, and we do that in a number of ways. We've got a fantastic incubation offer on campus where we work with graduates and students to help them start up businesses. We've got a great track record doing that, particularly around games and tech. We work across partnerships. We've been heavily involved with the Tees Valley Combined Authorities to support the development of the Tees Valley Investment Zone, which is going to focus again on digital and creative businesses. And with Stockton in particular, what we've been doing as part of our workforce development conversations, particularly with the NHS trusts, we've looked at what the demand is and the needs for the future workforce, particularly around that health, that primary health, social care element. And there was a real demand and real need in Tees Valley for us to be looking at how do we support and how do we grow that workforce for the future. So we've been working in partnership with Stockton to develop the feasibility studies and to start those conversations with the GMC so that we can start building and growing our own workforce, and looking at as well as sort of primary health, also looking at things like pharmacy and language and speech. We do a lot of paramedic training, that sort of thing already, but it really enables us to build that offer and to anchor it into Stockton, where we know a lot of our students and a lot of our graduates want to stay and live and work in great jobs.
That's great. And we know that, you know, there's got to be a cocktail of things that contribute to this. So we're really proud of the work we're doing with business, but also with anchor institutions like the university to develop commercial opportunities, spin out businesses, the skills agenda. And we've got key partners like the NHS Trust, the two NHS trusts in the area, the Mental Health Trust, investing in capital clinical facilities to look at clustering around that. But we also know that actually there's a range of things that we need to continue to invest in about the quality of life. So,
100%.
you know, to do kind of the selling jobs for the region, the borough of Stockton-on-Tees has got the best education results in the North East. 95% of our schools are good and outstanding, which is a big selling point. We've invested heavily in the cultural agenda with the refurbishment of the Globe, and we're building a kind of a unique urban park right in the middle of our town centre to improve the quality of life and recreation opportunities. And we know that only really the public sector can be in that space. But actually, the big driver next is how do you bring those things together to work with the market so that we can provide the quality of accommodation, the quality of space, to be able to leverage the commercial opportunities on the back of that. I suppose from our point of view, we're really putting our money where our mouth is in terms of the investment on that. The next step for us now is to really capitalise on that. Sandy, I'm going to come to you on that point, just kind of a final point before I open up to the audience. We're going to be starting a conversation right the way across, kind of informal conversations, and I suppose it'd be good to hear from you as a developer what some of the challenges would be in terms of not just unlocking the sites that we've talked about, but as working in the market with some of the ambitions.
Well, the first challenge is this light, which
yes,
is slowly cooking me here, so apologies. I sort of mentioned at the outset that as investors and developers, we recognise the opportunity here in the Tees Valley. When I say here, I mean the Tees Valley, because of what I'm seeing you guys do, TVCA. I don't know if anyone was at the wider Tees Valley presentation at midday, but we just got planning consent in 10 weeks for a £200 million scheme. I think that's just unheard of. So if the local authorities are going to be able to give that sort of confidence to investors like ourselves, then we're naturally going to look at the place. But there are still viability gaps, and I'm sure everybody's not stupid enough not to realise that. And they are a challenge. So I think both the local authorities, the public sector, and the private sector need to work collaboratively. They need to come up with creative ideas and solutions to facilitate and provide the sort of environment that's needed. You hear about these sort of the jobs that the university is spinning out from their new digital facility. We, from our Gresham project, have been and seen some of the incredible sort of young, dynamic companies in the gaming industry. And if you don't provide in Teesside the environment that these people want to live in, they want to play in, they want to go out at night in, you won't keep them. So it's not just about providing and creating these jobs, but you've got to not only retain them, but you want to attract new people. So when I see what you're doing in the middle of Stockton and that, you need to give people a reason why they want to come in at the weekends, right? Why am I going to come with my family? So what we like about Tees Valley is, to date, the sort of collaborative approach that we found the local authorities and the TVCA seem to be able to provide, really creatively looking as to how to fill that viability gap. Because if you can't come up with those solutions, you're never going to get the investment. It's all very well you putting the building blocks in place, but you've got to sort of allow the developers, the investors, the external funds to sort of see a return on it. So
yeah, that's really helpful to know. And we're mature to that as well, both from the officer base, but also politically as well. And one of the examples in Stockton would be we as a local authority were instrumental in the development of a Hilton hotel within the town centre. And the reason we stepped into that space was we wanted to prove concept and prove the market because it didn't exist.
Can I just say I can never get a room in that it's more expensive to stay in that Hilton than it is on Park Lane.
Yeah, well, it's the high. It's the highest. It's one of the highest performing in the region. It's doing really well, but that was a big leap of faith from our politicians to step into that space. And it's the same with, we know it's the same with some of the types of housing markets that we need to go into. So the point you made is that we can see huge growth in business spin-outs, businesses like locally grown business Visualsoft, spun out Teesside University. They've got a CEO that they've pinched from Silicon Valley, really amazing business at the heart of the Tees Valley around digital innovation. And you go in there and there's kind of much more trendier looking people than me, younger people than me in there. And I speak to them about where do they live and the type of accommodation, and we struggle with that type of accommodation that they're looking for, the city centre lifestyle offer. We know that we've got all the data to show that, but we know as public bodies, working with Homes England and others, we're going to have to be into a space that helps you with confidence in the market to prove concept. So we're alive to that, and that's part of the engaging conversation that we want to have. So at that point, I'm going to pause and open it up to questions from colleagues around the room. We stunned everybody into silence. Any questions or comments? No? Is everybody ready to start investing in Stockton and the Tees Valley?
Maybe just focus what it is we're asking from this session, and I think it is, as public bodies, we can come together and we can put that structure in place, that very, very boring governance that actually helps to overcome some of those barriers. What we can't do is be on the crest of every commercial wave that needs to crash down on the shore here for us to make this work. And what we are interested in is a dialogue with developers, investors, any partner who thinks that they've got a model that can work in Tees Valley that could be a part of this solution. So we've got some concepts about what that vision looks like. We've got some spatial plans about what that looks like. The only thing I can guarantee you is that won't end up being what is built in its entirety, because the world will happen whilst we're getting that done. So we've got to have a plan that is flexible enough to roll with different commercial cycles, changes in industrial sectors, and reflect. But for us, I think at the very heart of it, it's got to be able to deliver for the people of the Tees Valley. So it's got to be able to create those life opportunities for young people. It's got to create opportunities for adults, training, retraining for a new career. It's got to provide a broader range of residential options, and those residential options have got to be based around a town centre that works for the 21st century and provides that lifestyle, cultural balance that we all want to live with. It's not just young people who want to be near to a cultural institution. Older people rethinking what their life opportunities are and where they might want to live. A town centre with an inbuilt community, with a sense of place and a sense of itself, is a great aspiration for very many of us, and that at the moment doesn't exist in the Tees Valley. It doesn't exist many places outside of city centres. So what we've got to do is to find a set of partners to work with us who are going to be brave enough to try and create that model and prove that it can be delivered in a place like Stockton in a model. And I think if we can do that, that model should be replicable across the rest of the country.
Great, thank you, Tracy. So yeah, it's the start of a conversation. We've got some very specific detail about a range of different sites that we're looking to bring forward in the very short term to some of the longer term sites as well that we're unlocking. And I'm just going to get colleagues just to wave their hands. So we've got a couple of colleagues from the council. So Tracy's here, Ian's obviously, and Chris is at the back there, and some of the other team, Jane is at the back there. So do grab, if you at the end of the session, spend the time to speak to the panel to ask questions, and we will be looking to engage right the way across of a range of opportunities, whether it be residential opportunities, overnight accommodation, commercial space, student accommodation. There's a range of different needs on a range of these different sites that we want to bring forward over the short to medium term. So thank you for listening, everybody, and we look forward to speaking to you all over the coming months.